Good morning everyone, happy Tuesday and welcome to another Talk Technical to Me. Today we are going to be talking all things perms and texturizers. This is something that we provide here at Oligo Pro. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam. I am one of the technical advisors for Oligo Pro in the UK and I am super excited to take you through all things perms today. So let's get to it. So why do we perm? Perms have adapted over the years, thank goodness, and are no longer 80s vibes only. So perming sort of essentially changes the hair structure and creates waves with body, soft ringlets, or we can kind of achieve more natural looking curls. So this can still be a really great option even now in 2026. So how do perms work? They essentially contain chemicals that will break and reform the hair's disulfide bonds. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a new curl pattern. So it's going to change the way the hair is basically appears. With this, the hair is washed, wrapped around perm rods, and then we sort of, with our perm rod choices, can decide whether we want it to be tighter, looser, more body. So this is going to determine the strength and the tightness of our curls, and then treated with an alkaline waving lotion. So this lotion will basically raise the cuticle, break the disulfide bonds, and this is what kind of creates a new structure, so the wave, the curl, or the body. After processing, this lotion is then rinsed out and we apply a neutralizer. This is to reform our disulfide bonds and set the curl that we have just worked so hard to achieve. So perms can be really sort of underestimated, they can be really overlooked as something that maybe we no longer need to add as something in our services. But actually they can be a really great way to add volume and help with customers who maybe already have a slight natural wave or curl, but just want that little bit more. So, the benefits that we get from perming. We can give straight hair more body. We can also give sort of more manageability to curls that maybe need that. We can also sort of give hair more volume. We can help rectify any uneven texture by cleverly placing our perm rods where they're needed. We can also enhance the hair's density. So this is quite popular at the moment with men. So to be able to make the hair appear more dense by adding that little bit of movement. It's also really great and gives us versatility in styling. So you will find that a lot of people will find it a lot easier to manage and a lot less maintenance when the hair has been permed. So within Oligo's perms and texturizers, we are super proud to be ammonia-free and thio-free. So when we are preparing our hair for perms and or texturizers, we have some sort of application and prep that we can do. So we would always recommend pre-perm to shampoo with our clarifying shampoo. This is basically going to remove any excess residue and make the hair like a super clean canvas for us to work on. We're then going to roll with even tension. So we need to really think about where we are putting our perm rods, depending on what size we have chosen, and make sure that we are rolling evenly. Then we are going to place cotton wool around the hairline once all of our perm rods are in. This is going to protect our customers' hairline and sort of face area from any sort of residue from our perm solution. We would then apply the correct Perm solution evenly on all of our rods a couple of times, several times, and then cover with a plastic cap to develop. When we are happy with our process, we would then rinse for 10 minutes, especially when we are dealing with thick or coarse hair. We may find that we need to rinse for that little bit longer. Then we would block the hair dry thoroughly with a towel and then apply 3/4 of our neutralizer, process for 5 minutes, and then we would basically remove our rods. So we would keep our rods in for the first sort of 5 minutes with our neutralizer. We would then remove our rods and then apply the rest of our neutralizer, then process for a further 5 more minutes. And then we would recommend that our customers do not wash their hair for 72 hours, just so that this new curl pattern has time to set in. So this brings us to our first out of 5 products that we have available within our Oligo, Perms and Texturisers. So our first is our EXO. Now, something super cool about obviously the development of EXO is that it also contains exothermic within this perm, which also works alongside our incredible and innovative technology within our Colora Permanent Shine hair color. So our exothermic wave is designed for resistant white hair. This is our most powerful option within our perms and gives a tighter, stronger curl pattern. It also sort of means with our exothermic that it is a gentle sort of warming, which will then help to open that cuticle. And then we have an activation lotion that we add, or an activator that we add in to create our exothermic reaction. So this would need to be mixed into our solution. We would process our EXO perm for 20 to 30 minutes when we are dealing with resistant hair, and we would treat this as a guideline. So we would sort of suggest that you process maybe for the 20 minutes and then check and do a curl check and pay attention to the texture of the hair. So EXO is our strongest, most powerful option, but also remembering that we are ammonia and thio-free across the whole of our perm range. Then we have Alka. So Alka is designed for sort of normal to finer hair types. This is a sort of medium strength and it is an alkaline wave. So this means that we get a sort of tighter curl than Techno, the next perm that I will discuss with you, but a looser curl than EXO, which is what we've just discussed. So it's sort of a medium kind of curl. We also, because it is an alkaline, it is classed as a cold perm. So this means that it lasts up to 3 to 6 months, depending obviously on the care, the aftercare of the perm, the condition that we've started with, and how our customer is styling and looking after their hair in between services. We would process our Alka perm for 20 to 30 minutes again, checking after 20 minutes, and then obviously using this as a guideline, depending on the sort of texture of the hair. So Alka is a really nice in-between perm offering that we have here at Oligo. Next up, we have Techno. So Techno is designed for color-treated and pre-lightened hair. So this is our gentlest option. So it will give a looser curl type and it is an acid perm. So this will create sort of an acidic effect, and by doing this we need to add an activator into our lotion to create the sort of acidic wave. We would process for 15 to 20 minutes, again as a guideline depending on the texture and condition of the hair. we could process for the first 15 and then do a cow check and then additional minute by minute checks. So this is our gentlest, softest option, hence why it is for colour treated and pre-lightened hair. Then we also have our texturizers. So these are slightly different to our perms. These are sort of designed to give more sort of texture and movement than a complete curl. Again, depending on the rods that you are using when you are perming. So we have two options. We have 0H6. So this is for colour treated and pre-lightened hair. And we have 0H7. So this is for resistant hair, white hair, or natural and fine hair. So we have the two options to cover all hair types. So with our 0H6, this is going to create super soft texture and movement. It will last up to 2 months, again, dependent on how our customer is looking after it in between and the condition of their hair at the time that we complete the service. When we are processing colour treated hair using 0H6, we would process for 10 to 20 minutes, again using these as a guideline. And when we are doing highlighted hair up to 70 or 80%, we would recommend 2 to 10 minutes. So a lot less time. So we can sort of then use this as our guideline and keep checking our curls as we go through. And then we have 0H7. So 0H7 creates texture and volume on fine hair. It lasts again up to 2 months and can sort of, again, that can sort of depend on the condition and the care of the hair outside of the salon. So with 0H7, we can process for 20 to 30 minutes, again using this as a guideline and obviously making sure that we are checking as we're working. When we have done all this hard work to get our prep underway, our application perfect, our lotions as designed to be as perfect a curl as possible for our customer, choosing the right lotion, processing, neutralizing. We then need to make sure that we are using the correct aftercare. This is just as important as everything else. So we would always recommend using the Colora Moisture Balance shampoo. If the hair is particularly delicate, we could opt to use our Blacklight Smart Conditioner to sort of their home care routine. So this is something that we could prescribe to our customers to take home to really help with the condition and the longevity of their perm or texturizer. For finer hair types, we would combine amplifying mousse within Colora Care and Styling with curl balm within Colora Care and Styling to set our curls when we've styled. For thicker hair types, we would sort of recommend using Perfecting Primer because it doesn't have really any hold to it. It's just going to make the hair feel super gorgeous. With curl balm is like the perfect combo for sort of thicker, coarser hair, just because we don't need the hold from the amplifying mousse like we would on finer hair types. So that leads me to our questions. I have been handed some questions to me, so we will go through all of the answers with you. First up, what is thio? Very good question. So thio is in a lot of perms, and it basically, in the sort of perms where thio is included, it's used to break the disulfide bonds in the hair. It's kind of like a more permanent wave process, and they can sometimes be referred to as perm salts. Now this obviously can be quite harsh on the hair, potentially causing damage, especially on finer hair types or lightened, pre-lightened hair. So we have made the decision at Oligo Pro to not include these perm salts or thio as an ingredient within our perms. Great question. Next up, how do I know which perm to use? So, obviously consultation is key. It will always be key. We need to ensure the condition to begin with is going to work with the lotion that we're considering. We also need to make sure that the density of the hair it's the correct lotion for the density or the color of the hair. Also, the kind of goal of the customer. Sometimes it can be sort of quite difficult to determine what their goal is. So using things like images, pictures can be a really easy way to define whether they want a super tight curl or just body. And having that communication with our customers is super important. We also sometimes find that customers' lifestyle isn't taken into consideration, and with perming it definitely needs to be. Is this customer going to be happy to not wash their hair for 72 hours after they've had a perm service? You know, are there other things that they have in their lifestyle that means that they will be washing it very frequently, swimming or doing things that maybe will alter the longevity of their perm? So lifestyle needs to be sort of taken into consideration as well. Then you can decide how loose or tight of a curl, and your sort of choice of rods are going to also determine how tight or loose of a curl as well. So then you can find the perfect harmony between which lotion is going to give you the best results alongside everything that you've covered in your consultation. Perfect. Next question. Why do I need to neutralize during perming? Okay, so we briefly covered on this at the beginning. Neutralizing perms is essential because it essentially will reform those disulfide bonds that we have broken to change the pattern of the hair and lock the hair into its new shape. Okay, so if you sort of weren't to use a neutralizer, it's almost like not using our after color program after a color, like our color lock. It's just not going to seal the deal. So what you will find is that it will also, when we're neutralizing, stop the chemical process, which is super important. It's going to re-acidify the hair so that we are back to the correct pH and close the cuticle. So this is going to ensure that the curls last rather than allowing the hair to sort of become frizzy or go back to being straighter. So neutralizing is the most important part, because all of our hard work getting to that point needs to be locked in, essentially. Great question. Can I mix the perm solutions together to achieve a hybrid perm? We personally would not recommend mixing any of our perms together at Oligo Pro. This is because, as we've seen, each one is formulated differently. There is no need to mix them together. You have the correct revenue of products available to you to be able to use them on the correct customer. Obviously, pH levels are going to differ and ingredients, so we would recommend to just use the perm that you need and not intermix them, and not create some hybrid perm that we don't need. So no, we would not recommend mixing perms together. Next question. What if I need to process for longer than recommended? Okay, if you process a perm for too long, it actually risks damaging the hair's structure. Okay, so we would always recommend using the process times as guidelines because everybody's hair is different. But we would monitor the process. So as I explained earlier, during the development times, if you err on the side of caution at the minimum process time and check, you normally have quite a good idea of how that curl pattern is sort of developing or how that curl is forming. And you can do that sort of push it up and see if it forms an S so that you know whether it is ready or not. If it is then not ready or not quite there yet, you could time it for an extra minute or 2 minutes, depending on your overall guideline of processing, and keep checking and monitoring it closely. I personally feel like if you did need to leave the solution on for longer, and this can happen in some circumstances, you would sort of want to make sure that you are watching it. So you are there constantly monitoring it, because a lot can happen in just a very short amount of time. So it might only take 1 more minute over the process time. which is absolutely fine, but we would never recommend leaving on for any longer than an additional 5 minutes. So if it has not reached where you'd like it to be, like once you've reached maximum processing time, you have an extra 5 minutes grace, but after that, it will need to be neutralized and rinsed, or rinsed and neutralized. Great question. Last one. How long should my client wait to have their hair colored before or after a perm? Perfect. So we would always recommend coloring the hair 2 weeks prior to a perm service. This is so that the hair can sort of settle. And then 2 weeks after a perm service as well. This is to keep the integrity of the hair, but also because we want to achieve the best results for both our color services and for our perming or texturizing services. So we don't want them to kind of counteract each other. So we would recommend prepping the hair with color 2 weeks before, or waiting until 2 weeks after the perming service has been completed. Thank you so much for your questions. Here at Oligo Professional, education is at the heart of everything that we do. So we empower our team and the hairdressing community with not only technical, but creative and professional training. And this is tailored for stylists at every level. We also have multiple ways that you can learn with us. So we have our online courses that you can access anytime and take at your own pace. We have our weekly or bi-weekly webinars where we dive into the more technical aspects of our products. We then have our stylist blog series where you can really home in on a certain product or a certain sort of thing that you are most interested in. If you want a few tips and tricks, it's a really handy way to learn. We then have our in-person studio courses here at our salon studios in Exeter. This is a great way for you to come and spend the day with us, meet new stylists, and also learn new techniques, have play with color, and just have an overall really great time with us. As well as learning, we try to make learning fun. And there are also the opportunity to host a demo lounge in your salon where other stylists can come. You can host and they can learn everything that they want to know about Oligo, or you can attend one in a salon that's popped up near you. These are really great to start your introduction with Oligo Pro. So thank you so much for joining me for our Talk Technical to Me today. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Tuesday, and I will look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.